Hello, racers, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Race in Review. The podcast started by a couple of sim racers that also love Formula One racing. And on our YouTube channel, we bring you all things sim racing. And on this podcast, we bring you our opinions about the latest F1 race. And of course, we try to predict the upcoming race as well. Oh yeah, one of us supports Max Verstappen and the other one supports Lewis, and we still can get along very well in the world of Formula 1. My name is John, and I'll be your host today talking about the first race of the season in Australia, of course, and I couldn't do this alone, so I'm joined by the man with the best hair in the business. It's no other than James Hazel. Hi, James.
Hello, how's it going?
Quite all right, mate.
Good.
It was far better than expected this week.
What a race. Yeah.
What a race.
We've got a lot to cover.
I sent you a message with saying a drunk man at the bar, and then someone says, this was just race one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what a season. And it's like, mate, it's only the first race.
James,
Yeah.
Normally we start this by trying to summarize this race in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Do you think I can do that?
You can try.
I will.
There's a lot.
Okay. I'll do the whoosh signal like this, and then I'll try to do this in 1 minute.
All right, go for it.
All right, so Norris wins the wild Australian Grand Prix in a chaos-filled season opener. Lando Norris turned pole position into a dramatic victory in Melbourne season opener, surviving rain, crashes, and absolute mayhem. The race kicked off on a soaked track, but as things dried up, drivers switched to slicks, only for the rain to strike again. But McLaren's went off-roading, Piastri spun, and Verstappen briefly snuck into the lead. But karma, and mostly physics, hit Max when he stayed out too long on slicks, handing Norris back P1. After a late safety car, thanks to crashes from Lawson and Bortoleto, Verstappen chased Norris in slippery conditions but couldn't seal the deal. Russell grabbed third for Mercedes, while rookie Antonelli and Williams Albon put in stellar drives. Elsewhere, Leclerc complained his seat was full of water, Ferrari problems. Hamilton played tire roulette and lost, and poor Hadjar didn't even make it past the formation lap. Did I do well in 1 minute, James?
Yeah, very good, yeah.
Oh, I had to work really hard on this one.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff happening in that race to cover, so to summarize it is pretty difficult.
Shall we, I don't know, try to start at the start? Like,
yeah.
Or do we want to start with the predictions? How we went on there?
We'll get to the predictions at the end, and then we'll make predictions for the next race.
That sounds right.
Why don't we start by talking about the rookies in general?
The rookies. I think that's a good way to start this show.
Yeah.
The rookies. I said Friday, or when we record last week somewhere, there's a lot of rookies. I thought 4 or something, but there's 6, James.
Yeah.
I actually forgot. There's 6 rookies.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Is that counting Lawson as a rookie as well?
Oh, I think I have done that. Sorry.
I mean, no, I think that's fair. This is his first full season. Yeah, he's done some races, but this is his first proper start to a season and preparation for a season.
Bortoleto, Doohan, Hadjar, Lawson, and of course I counted Alonso.
Alonso?
No, Antonelli. I'm just joking. There was a joke from Antonelli. So Antonelli, Behrman, Bortoleto, Doohan, Hadjar, and Lawson.
Yeah.
But maybe you shouldn't count Lawson as.
I think we do. I think we count Lawson and Behrman as rookies, just because they've done some races. This is their first proper, go through testing, preparation for a season, and into a season proper. They've jumped into the race seats in the past, but this is the first proper season for them. So I think it's fair to count them as rookies.
Yeah, but what's the thing the rookies lack the most in general sense?
Experience.
What do you need when a race is wet, dries up, goes back to wet again, and has way different position? And you might have missed free practice 2 or 3 as well.
Yeah, conditions were not ideal for the first race for any of these rookies. They've obviously done wet racing and testing before, but don't know how many miles any of them have done in the wet in a Formula One car, and that is massively different to any of the ways that you get to Formula One through different feeder series. So,
And James, are these tires warmed up now these days?
Not as much as they used to be now. That's another thing that's a problem.
Which you haven't tested.
Yeah. So that was a really rough weekend for all of the rookies. Obviously, some of them just absolutely shone. In particular, Kimi Antonelli, who didn't qualify particularly well, but to finish, fourth place is just phenomenal. One of the only drivers to be doing any overtaking in the first half of the race on the wet track. Okay, he was in a Mercedes, which is probably like third or fourth fastest car on the grid. He's certainly one of the
Lawson
top 4
wasn't
teams.
Red Bull, didn't do much overtaking either.
Well, that's the thing. Lawson didn't make any progress where Antonelli was, and yeah, there's a difference there in that his car is probably, well, not even probably, but it is better than, for example, a Haas or a Kick Sauber. But also, wet weather is the leveler of the playing field. Like quite often, the gaps between cars is reduced in wet weather, and you can drive around, or your car's problems are reduced by the fact that you're driving slower on a wet track. So, yeah, I thought Kimi Antonelli was just outstanding. For me, he was probably my driver of the day. Or he would at least be tied with Lando Norris, who did actually win the driver of the day thing. But it was between those two for me. Yeah, the other rookies.
Just a little bit about Antonelli, though. Qualified 16th.
Yep.
That wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't. He apparently had some floor damage. The front bib, as they call it, at the front of the floor was damaged.
Yeah, but because he went off track himself.
Well, that's his fault.
Yeah,
if anyone makes a mistake and it damages the car, that's their fault. So yeah, that's still Kimi's fault. But he was out of position, really. I think he should have made it through to Q3.
But he did manage to redeem himself on Sunday. I totally agree there.
Yeah, he did.
He's got some raw speed, that mate. And
that was in a trial by fire, really, for all of those rookies in that race. That was not a standard Formula One race.
No, that's mildly spoken, I think. Behrman,
disappointed.
Qualified last. Didn't
really
actually.
Yeah, he had problems over the weekend, didn't he?
He slammed his car into free practice.
Yeah, he crashed his car free practice 1, I think that was.
Yeah, didn't make it in qualifying because of
it. He had a gearbox issue in qualifying, so he didn't get a qualifying run. And then during the race, he was just nowhere. He finished last. I mean, he kept it on track, which is something which I think any of the drivers to finish the race really is impressive in itself and a testament to the drivers and their skill. Some of them maybe were a little bit screwed by team decisions. I mean, Ferrari, obviously, they messed up.
We'll talk about that one shortly, don't worry.
Tsunoda was hampered by that as well. But overall, I think any driver who finished that race, just fair play to them. So Behrman, whilst disappointing, at the same time, he's driving a Haas, and that Haas is not good this year.
No, really. I posted something on socials about Yusei and Hulkenberg trying to be a politician about how the performance of that car is. Hulkenberg, but also Ocon was, well.
Yeah, Haas seemed to be about as bad as we thought Kick Sauber were, unfortunately, which is disappointing because they were coming off a pretty good end to the season last year, and they've gone backwards at the start of this year so far. So yeah, Behrman's in a bad spot really because he's in a particularly bad car.
He can't show anything this year, and then it doesn't help if you mess up your car in practice and can't qualify either. Doesn't boost his confidence. Let's put it like this.
Yeah, true. But he kept it on track. He was what? He was the only other rookie to do that, other than Antonelli, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So that's that. To me, that's still something.
True.
So yeah.
Dear Jack, want to talk about Jack? Mr. Doing qualified in wasn't. I don't think qualifying was too bad actually. 14th.
Yeah, he got into Q2, didn't he? Hard to really say anything about him because he crashed basically straight away. I think the commentary was talking about changing traction during an uplift and just getting caught out by stuff. But I think Bono,
he was with the wheel on the white lines.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think what Bono was commenting to Kimi Antonelli was probably actually correct, that it was the white line caught him out. So it's unfortunate. It's not good when there's certainly this perceived pressure on him. Whether there really is within the team, we don't necessarily know. Like some members of the team are saying there isn't any pressure, and then other members of the team are saying that there maybe is, and then other people are turning around and changing their tune every other day. So
can you explain where that pressure comes from? I think that's an important distinction here.
It's just the fact that they've got Colapinto sat waiting in reserve, and
they signed too late, else he would have been driving this year.
He would have been driving for them, yeah. I think Colapinto has definitely 100% got some raw talent there. And yes, he started to make some mistakes towards the end of the season last year. He got caught up in a few crashes. But overall, I do highly rate him. I think I just really like him. I'm an instant fan as soon as he got into a car last year.
I think we all did. We made 3 podcasts only about him, I think.
Yeah, so. And he's obviously there's pressure within Alpine because they've got somebody like Colapinto as a reserve driver. So if Jack Doohan doesn't perform, it does make sense to swap them. I don't think they're going to judge Jack too much based on this race, though.
I agree. You can't judge many people on this one.
No, this was just unfortunate. This wasn't a rookie being a rookie. This was treacherous conditions.
You need experience for these kinds of races.
Yeah, so this was still treacherous for everybody. I mean Carlos Sainz lost
it up, yeah.
Yeah, lost it behind the safety car. Even Fernando Alonso got caught out. You know, you're talking about some very experienced drivers that DNF'd because of the conditions. So, that's what I'm saying. Really,
I mean, even Leclerc spinned.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. It's fair play to any of the drivers that did finish because it was tricky conditions and a lot of people got caught out by it. So Jack, unlucky, but I don't think this should reflect on him just yet.
I agree.
If we get effectively a standard race in China, then you can start judging.
Yeah, fair enough. Although it's China, they probably haven't driven either in previous seasons.
Well, he would have driven there, or he might not have driven there before. But I don't. To me, that's not a reason to not judge somebody. A driver should be able to hop onto a circuit.
Yeah, that is
quickly,
fair.
Especially in Formula One. All the other drivers can do that. He's a rookie. Yeah, it's a problem maybe, but he'll be putting in plenty of miles on the sim, and he should be getting straight up to speed when he gets there. So
that's fair. Can I mention that I really liked Bortoleto?
Yes. Yeah.
I think he qualified 15. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
You make the Q2 straight from the battle in your first race.
Yep. He outperformed the car there a little bit, I think. He did very well. Outqualified Hulkenberg, which is no mean feat. That's very impressive.
Drove a great race.
He did. Yeah.
And they said they spun it, but his suspension broke.
He had a failure.
So
definitely.
That's not his fault either.
Not
it's like people said he's hit the grass. He shouldn't hit the grass. No, his suspension broke before he hit the grass. You can actually see the car bouncing at the back, hitting the floor, and then went off.
Yeah, you could see it in that replay. There was like a camera angle from the front of the car. You could see that suspension fail on what would be the right hand side. You look at it, but the left hand side of left rear of the car.
Wasn't a great spot until then. So
Yeah, he was doing very, very well. Yeah.
And then second to last, yeah, we call him as a rookie, Lawson.
Yeah.
Is this Red Bull so awful to drive, or is Max outdriving the car, or is this just
I
poor
think to
performance?
talk about, I think it's difficult to talk about the car just yet because the fact that it was such a strange race. I don't I don't think we can read too much into any of the cars' pace just yet, other than like obviously in qualifying, McLaren finishing 3/10 ahead of the next car was quite impressive. But in the race, I think it's hard to judge. I think Lawson was very disappointing. He made absolutely no progress starting from pit lane.
Came back for another set of inters very quickly, just to be
Yeah,
safe.
I think that was just to try and get some warmer tyres on, ready for the restart, but it did nothing. And he was just invisible. He
Couldn't
made
fight a Haas.
he just made no impression on the race. And then he ended the race by performing what will now be referred to as the Hadjar at turn 2, and just losing it and going rear end first into the barriers on turn 2, which was a bit of a silly mistake. Overall, yeah, I'm very disappointed by that result from him. Personally, I don't think he's the driver to be driving in a Red Bull seat anyway. I
mean, we
do
all agree
think,
there. We said that last year as well.
yeah, I think Yuki should be in that seat, and I think he demonstrated that in this race and this entire weekend.
Also pinned his car, so
Yeah.
well, not pinned it, but spun off and lost
Yeah,
his
well,
grid position. So
lots of drivers ended up doing that though. So
yeah, he
you
was
know,
in fifth
oh
when that
yeah,
happened. So
he was having a great race. Yeah. But yeah, Lawson was just disappointing.
yeah, I really hope that you can now see when two McLarens are in the front and you have two Mercedes right after in this situation. That distance has to close rather quickly this year, or else I can't really take Red Bull as a thing too serious anymore.
No, not if. No, yeah, I mean they're going to have a repeat of last year. I think with Lawson, he's just going to be Checo 2.0. I don't think
3.0. Last year
or
was
three.
Checo 2.0 already.
Yeah, I don't think he's an improvement over Perez at all. I'd like to be proven wrong. I'd like to see him do well, but I don't. At the moment, I've got no confidence in it. So,
I'm afraid I have to agree. Talk about confidence. Someone that has a terrific free practice, had a great qualifying, I think at least, was a rookie,
yeah,
but didn't have quite a great start of the race. You already mentioned him. Hi, Joe.
yeah, that was very embarrassing for him and very unfortunate, and just very sad, really, because you could see that he was very distraught about it.
Kudos to Hamilton Senior for that, by the
I
way.
was just about to say, got to make a shout out for that because that was very very kind and very nice to see.
Not sure it made it look much better for Hajar himself, honestly. But
Well, I don't know. I think that was just nice. Hadjar was clearly quite distraught about it, and he needed somebody there to comfort him. And I think it's understandable because there is a lot of pressure within that Red Bull Junior program, whether it's direct or not, because all the drivers coming through that program see that they're quite happy to just swap people around midway through a season and drop somebody that they decide they don't like anymore. And Helmut Marko, I thought his comments after the race as well, I like that. That just
I
kind
don't
of
think
adds.
we should just leave Helmut Marko out of discussions in this podcast.
I think so
It just
because
screams to what gets the most headline, I think, these days.
yeah, I mean he was just harsh. I think there was no need for it.
He wasn't as harsh on Lawson, so
Exactly. Um, But then he did actually praise Tsunoda for a change. So,
He did.
yeah, it's a weird weekend for anyone following the comments of Helmut Marko. But getting back to Hadjar, yeah, it just disappointing is all you can really say about that. That's just very unfortunate. Probably one of the fastest crashes
The
for
fastest, I'm afraid.
for a rookie like starting their Formula One career, as far as like the actual race goes, to not even make it around.
We had a discussion if there was a DNF or did not start, but this is actually a DNF.
It's been classified as a DNF, yeah. So yeah, that affects our predictions, unfortunately.
James talking about predictions and talking about disappointing.
Yeah.
On to the next topic, though.
Yeah.
Water is wet.
Water is wet, and the water in Leclerc's cockpit is probably the water.
Yeah.
That's some crazy insight into weather and Ferrari's F1 team in general there.
And do you know what you can do about that? You can try pressing the K1 button.
Oh, the K1 button, yeah.
For people that don't get this inside joke, James, what went wrong or what went on at Ferrari this weekend?
Well, the water comment was Leclerc was concerned about liquid in his race seat. And his engineer just said it's probably just the water, which was very helpful. And Leclerc's retort, something along the lines of, "We'll add that to the words of wisdom" or something like that. Was brilliant.
He said, "Can you check if there's a leak?" They said, "What do you mean leak? Like there's water in my seat?" And there's like, the answer was, "It's probably the water." He of course meant it's probably because it's raining.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, Leclerc had a genuine reason to ask that. If he thought it was like there was more water than normal, just to ask, double check, make sure there's not a leak or something. So I thought it was fair, but yeah, and then the K1 thing was Hamilton being
I'm sorry, I can't.
trained like he's a rookie, not a 7-time world champion.
It's difficult, James.
Yeah,
I know it's difficult.
Yeah, I know it's difficult to press a button on your steering wheel. You've only won 7 world championships, so you're probably not used to this. But there's a K1 button and you can press it, but it's difficult. So if you don't worry about it. Yeah.
I've got a couple of quotes for that. K1 available. Lewis says, "Yes, I know. Leave me to it, please." That's definitely not Bono he's talking to. No. Then he says, "You can use K1 when you're close. Leave me to it, please." The third time it got bleeped out.
Yeah. I wonder if he gets a fine for that.
He should. Well, I don't think he should, but I think if they're following the rules now, they should just hammer down on this because
I
think it's still a crazy rule. Let me rephrase this. It's a ridiculous rule.
Yeah,
it should not be in there.
It should not.
I like even they made a joke about it on the gala where they showed the liveries. Gordon Ramsay even joked about it. If Gordon Ramsay makes joke about a silly rule which involves cursing, I think he should know that that's a silly rule.
Yeah,
but they are enforcing it, and there's no mention about it here.
I wasn't sure. So if anyone wants to correct us in the comments or whatever, then feel free. But I wasn't sure how and when it's applied, so I wasn't sure if it counted to radio messages.
Yes,
because those aren't always available live, are they? Can you listen to the radio live?
Yes.
Of the teams? Okay, so
but it won't broadcast. It won't be live broadcast.
No, because they have time. Like they get to pick and choose what's broadcast, and they can beep out the words if they don't like
which
them.
they did. So
of course, yeah.
So
that's a little bit harder to do in interviews because sometimes the interviews are live.
Yeah, so on the interviews you can make the rule for. I can actually get behind that one if that's needed. But
and when they're out of the car, everything should be a bit calmer, and they should show some restraint even when they are.
Max is still boycotting them, right? You've seen that interviews?
Yeah.
So he said on the, what do you think about a wet race tomorrow? And he said, oh, when it's wet, it's probably going to be slippery.
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
We're making press conferences.
All that
Boring
is
now.
the way that all the drivers should be protesting this stupid thing, is to just give the most ridiculous answers to questions. Oh, it's forecast to rain tomorrow. What do you think about that? Well, the track will be wet then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the sort of answers you give. You do like that. That's what I am fully behind what Max is doing on that, and I think more drivers should be doing it.
Talking about doing it, Ferrari.
Sorry, yeah, we were talking
Underperformed,
about
didn't we?
Ferrari. Yeah, they
were slower on the qualifying than I expected as well, if I'm honest.
They were. That qualifying, I think they had reason to be concerned there, because that was not a good showing. Yeah, not a good showing from them. And then in the race, they just didn't have a lot of pace, really. It was, like we've said multiple times, it was odd conditions, and it was an odd race. It wasn't a standard race. So.
Yeah.
But qualifying didn't look good, and yeah, they weren't. They didn't look brilliant in the race either.
19.8 and 22.4 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah. They are currently behind Kick Sauber Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship.
Yes, although shout out to Hulkenberg, because he got more points in one race for the team than the team got in the last year, or maybe even 2 years.
I don't know about 2 years, but definitely last year. Similarly, Williams are already making a huge dint on the total points they made last year. I think they're 4 points away already, because Albon scored 10.
Yes, I don't know what we predicted last week about Williams getting points, but
yeah, I think Williams are looking pretty strong compared to last year, and I think they are potentially best of the rest. But James, back to Ferrari.
Yeah, how can you, as Ferrari, you got Leclerc, and you're coaching Leclerc on which tire to cool. How can you keep talking about Hamilton having to use the overtake button when he's close? How can you even think about saying to a 7-time world champion, I know it's difficult, but you can practice it?
I think
is it lost in translation, or is it just?
I think there might be an element of that, and I think this is still a case of the race engineer and the driver still not quite on the same level yet.
Leclerc's got a second engineer now, so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Hamilton is completely new to the team. He only started working with the team in January, so they need to kind of build up. I don't know how to word it, like a working relationship.
But I don't. Sure, I mean, I get it, but the overtake button, come on.
Yeah, I don't know if the race engineer is maybe a little bit nervous about the fact that he's now the engineer for Lewis Hamilton, and he's a bit like, I don't know, maybe starstruck's not the right word, but you know what I mean. He's suddenly the engineer for like one of the most successful drivers in the sport ever.
Not anymore when he goes on like this, when you help him like this.
But, yeah, so I don't know if he was trying to be like overly nice and polite.
Lewis was towards him though.
No, but Lewis is like that though. When he's racing, he knows what he needs and what he wants, and if he's not being given what he wants, he'll just say, "Just leave me to it." And most drivers do that. To be honest,
he said please twice now. So
yeah.
But it's a disappointment to say the least.
Yeah, I am very disappointed by Ferrari. They were looking pretty good in testing, and I honestly, maybe I just fell for this same old Ferrari trick that this year is the year trademark.
23 races left though.
Then it always ends up becoming next year will be the year, and then as we approach the next year, it's like, right, this is the year, and then the year starts and the cycle continues. This is just the life of a Ferrari fan, apparently, which I obviously now
have to
fully committed to being. So I'm very disappointed. They made a gamble with the tyres. I don't think it was a good call to make a gamble like that, really, when they were already in a half decent position. I think they rolled the dice going all out for the victory, and it just completely backfired. If the rain had lasted like one lap fewer, it might have worked. But the amount of rain that happened in that like final third of the race, or however long it was, there was just no way those slicks were going to work, and especially behind a safety car, they were just going to lose all temperature.
Slightly different, maybe. So I checked the radio messages, and it says to Leclerc, "There's Class 3 rain incoming in 3 laps, 2 to 3 laps." So they knew it's going to be raining hard.
Oh yeah.
Then it hits. They keep him out.
But it's for how long is the problem? Like if it's class 3 and it's only for 2 minutes, it's fine.
Yeah. But they keep him out, and if you risk it, you either go right forward or you don't. But I think they gambled halfway through. I still think that they should have take one car out to try to go for it. And
I get what you're saying, but I think they reached a point where they were left with no other choice
because they waited too long.
Yeah, they were what they were trying to do. I think they could have just done like everybody else, switched to the intermediates at the same time as everybody else. And I think what they gambled on was that the rain wouldn't last for as long as it ended up doing, and that they could get through that period of wet track,
Max wanted to do as well,
on the slicks. Oh. And then as the track dries back up, they will become the fastest car because they're already on the slicks. And it's too late in the race for anyone to make a pit stop to move on to the slicks, because you just lose so much time, especially when everyone's bunched back up after a safety car. What I don't think they could have done is carried on with that plan once the rain reached the point that it did. I don't think they were in a position where it was like.
No, so I agree with you perfectly on that. My point is, Max is half a lap in front of them. Yeah, he's going in from the same strategy, right? You should have made your decision then.
Yeah, should have done. Yeah, I agree with that.
Not waited out again, and I think that's when I said the switch was too late. I get that you're taking a gamble and that it might not work out, but there's others to compare yourself with and to take an earlier conclusion.
There is, yeah.
And I think that's where it went wrong, but they just left them out to dry, literally in this case, and they flew it away. And I think that's where, and I saw more of these tech. This is hard, right? I'm not going to pretend I know any better or something like this. But I saw it with McLaren a bit as well. So what happens? They put them on slicks after the safety car hits, right?
Yep.
Verstappen goes to mediums because it's just 20 laps. You get a couple of laps behind the safety car. You might have to switch anyways, but you should be able to manage 20 laps on those mediums.
Yeah.
And realistically, 15 or something when the safety car goes out, which is a discussion I want to get into next in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But both McLarens go to hards.
Yeah.
Which will be hard to get on temperature, and you'll be fighting someone on mediums behind you. Also, Gamwa did not, or maybe
they went on to hards before Max went on to mediums because they were in the lead and they pitted
going
first.
To hards is what I still don't understand.
I think personally, I think it was just because they were in that kind of crossover where mediums was maybe a little bit of a risk, depending on how the rest of the race went, and hards were completely safe. And I think they just decided to play it safe. I mean, quite a lot of other teams did the same thing. Ferrari, I think, did Ferrari split? Did they have one on medium, one on hard?
And so did Russell and Kimi, I think.
But I think what they thought was they pitted first, so they couldn't look at what the other teams were doing and decide to.
No, but realistically saying, it's 20 laps left. It's going to rain, so the temperature goes down anyways. Why go to? You should be able to do it on mediums, and these are the McLarens are the ones that last forever. By the looks of it so far, they can manage the tires the best.
Maybe I don't.
In the end, it didn't really matter much. Let's put it that way.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think this is something that massively matters because
it allowed Max to push at least for them.
Well, yeah, I mean Max would have had a chance on the softer tires to push, but he also had the risk that they would not quite last right until the end of the race, where the hard tires would. So, and it is a difficult track to overtake on.
Yeah, it's all near impossible. Honestly,
so all they had to do really was just be defensive, keep Max behind them until his tires started to fade, and then they're home safe, assuming that they didn't get any more rain, but they did. So in the end, it was a moot point. But I don't think putting the hard tyres on was particularly controversial, just because of the lap that they did it on, and the fact that, like I said, they were the first. They were the first out of the front runners to pit, so they couldn't see
That
what
is on
the
true,
competition was
and it's
doing.
a good double stack they did as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was well executed. I think if they'd have if they were in a different position and they'd seen Max put the mediums on, they might have mirrored Max and put the mediums on as well.
Yeah.
But I think because they pitted first, they just played it safe. They're already in the lead. They don't need to take any risks.
True. Couple of quick fire questions for you. Yes or no?
Okay.
Mercedes, well performed. Overperformed, maybe.
Kimi, yes, but overall for the team, no.
Okay.
I think
Stroll
they're too slow.
overperformed. Aston Martin looked good this weekend.
No. Aston Martin didn't look good. I think they just benefited from the crazy race with Stroll.
Williams overperformed.
No, I think they're performing where they are performing. That was a great result from Albon. So this was supposed to be a yes/no, but I'm
but that's
expanding on it a little bit because I genuinely think Williams are joint best of the rest, probably with Alpine at this point.
Maybe even Aston Martin. You never know.
No, I don't think Aston Martin are there.
Yes or no? Max is really happy with P2.
Yes, definitely.
Yes or no? McLaren's run away with this championship.
Not run away. I do think they will win it, but I don't think it's going to be quite the runaway where everyone's expecting and envisioning.
Yes or no? Lando Norris is now the number one driver at McLaren for sure.
No.
Come back on that on future podcasts, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I don't think for sure. This is the first race. It's way too early to say that. If Lando gets 2 DNFs and Piastri wins 2 races, you wouldn't suddenly say
but I
Piastri's
wouldn't let
number
him
one.
fight. That's why I was asking as well.
Yeah.
That was most of my yes or no questions, though. I think yes or no, Fernando Alonso is a rookie.
Yes.
Yes or no, Lewis should use his K1 button more often.
Yeah, if you listen to his engineer.
Sorry, I found it stupidly funny. James, like they say, never ask a woman her age, never ask Charles what is wet, and never ask Lewis what is K1. But what I am going to ask you is, should this race be more red flagged or not?
I think there was probably a time where a red flag was needed. There was a picture of one of the cameras at one point was showing the safety car cutting a corner, which because there was a vehicle on track, which Lando didn't cut that corner, and I don't blame him. The commentary picked up on that. Certainly, the UK commentary I was listening to. You know, you go off track and you just run the risk of picking up a puncture or anything like that. You don't go off track really unless you absolutely have to. But the problem was he's driving on track with a truck also driving on track. Why is that happening in those conditions?
2 trucks.
Yeah.
Alonso.
I thought that as soon as we needed anything like that on track, we'd just red flag it. Why did we not red flag for some of those accidents? I don't know.
Well, does it take 7 laps to get? I mean, Sainz's car was under electricity, so you couldn't take him away right away.
Yeah,
couldn't be touched. But still, it's there. It's on track, and it's not being moved.
It is, and it's in the firing line. It's in a place where an accident can happen, even behind a safety car. I mean, look at Hadjar on the warm-up lap,
and Lawson, and not checking on. I mean, and then
to be fair, to some extent, where Sainz was crashed, they did then decide to start going through the pit lane instead, and that does reduce the risk of.
Yes, but they can't do the same with where Alonso crashed.
Nope, they can't
because the towing truck was there.
Yep.
Marshals were on track.
Yep.
They were careful. They waited till they come back and stuff. Yeah. Was there 5 laps at least, I think?
As soon as there are other vehicles on the track, never mind in the runoff area, on the track, I think it should just be a red flag. I mean,
It all went well, but
Well,
when you
it went
mentioned it,
fine,
and
but
I was like, I think normally this should be red flagged as well.
yeah, it went fine this time. But what if it didn't go fine? I mean, look at Bortoletto's suspension failure.
Yeah.
I mean, the chances are very, very slim. But what if that had happened as behind the safety car as he's approaching the back of that truck and it sends his car into the back of that truck?
Yeah.
I mean, again, the chances are slim, but it could happen. His suspension just failed. Or somebody locks up or something happens and they crash into a truck. We've had a driver do that when they're no longer with us.
I 100% agree on you there. I don't think it's much better for the race, but I feel two things.
Safety car's better than yellow flags, but I still think in that situation, in this race in particular, because it's a narrow track, there's very few places where it would run off. That should have been red flagged.
I think there's an inherent risk with road tracks like this, with non-circuit tracks.
Yeah, it's a problem with street circuits in general. Yeah.
Yeah, and if that happens, it's a red flag. That's the risk of running too many road circuits throughout the year.
It is. Yeah.
And there's something else which I found disconcerting. Let's put it like this.
Yep.
The DRS opening while it's still raining. Something I've never seen before.
That felt very early as well. I agree. Yeah. Both times that they decided to reactivate DRS, it felt early. Normally they don't do that until somebody has made the switch onto slicks.
Exactly, yeah.
Proved that it is slick conditions. When everybody's on wet tyres, normally there's no DRS. So that was surprising.
I didn't see a rule change for that either, so...
I don't know anything about that either, so I don't know. Yeah, maybe there'd been a discussion about allowing it. I don't know, but
it's so extremely risky, especially when you have this year. Of course, most of the rookies were already gone, but you got 6 rookies.
Yep.
I don't know. It felt so dangerous, but
yeah. Well, I mean, Charlie Whiting was the person who originally said, like, if the track's slippery, why would we reduce their downforce even more by giving them DRS?
Yeah.
And basically said, if it's a wet, slippery circuit, there's no DRS. You don't need it because it's slippery.
You can't use it either, because if you go off track when the wet, you are suddenly in a different kind of road.
Exactly.
Like so they won't go off track, but also they won't ever get close enough usually to try it at high speeds.
Yeah.
But when you open DRS, suddenly you have the high speeds. You have the option maybe to go into the inside, which could be extremely wet still.
Exactly.
And I was just waiting for an accident. It didn't happen. Both situations, either the red flag or safety car thingy or the DRS. But both cases, I was like, I'm all for spectacle, but this feels a little bit risky.
Yeah, it did, and I agree with you on that. I think in both those instances with the DRS and the vehicles on track and just the safety car, I think they were bad calls and not a very good look, especially that shot in particular of Lando driving past a lorry, like a flatbed truck or whatever they're called. I can't remember, but like driving on the track. That was just not good. I mean, yeah, just disappointing. I think other than that, like I think you were asking about where's the safety car when Piastri spun off and was briefly beached or stuck. I didn't necessarily agree there.
I thought he was Enyo's cut off, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
When he was flat out standing still in the grass.
So
I thought if he's there, if he stalled out there, should be a safety car because he should be able to get out of the car. When I saw him back up, actually, I should have withdrawn my opinion about that.
Yeah, as long as
if you're still driving and the car's still on and you can try, fine, go ahead.
Yeah.
So there's no discussion for me there.
Yeah,
I thought he was already binned. So
yeah, if it's clear that a car's stopped and the driver needs to get out, then yeah, you need proper safety precautions. As long as a car's still running and it looks like they might be able to get out. Like if they're beached in gravel and they're just spinning the wheels, they're not going to go anywhere, are they?
And why I was so direct about it, let's put it like this, is because that's also where the suspension error from Bortoleto happened.
Yeah.
And you're going there on a pace, you're going 90 degrees on the left side. If it's raining and you hit the crash, you're driving straight into the car standing there.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I was like, if he's beached, please. I saw an accident waiting to happen. Let's put it like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe that's my overly concerned parenting
Yeah, well, I mean,
mindset.
the race itself produced that, though, didn't it? With some of the other mistakes, so it's completely understandable. Yeah,
It's where Lando went off. It's where Piastri went off. It's where Bortoleto went off. It's where Sainz went off. So, seeing a car standing still there and him not being able to get out. So I thought he wasn't going to get out. So that was more my take about that. I had to say, I don't know, last question, but I actually forgot about it. So
okay.
That's quite all right. It happens to the best of us. In this case, it did happen to the least of us, but still, it did happen. James.
Yeah.
It's prediction time, my friend.
Okay, let's do it.
So, prediction time. We had, of course, 3 predictions going. One is we always ask who wins pole position, and you said Piastri, and I said it's going to be Charles. It was Lando Norris.
Yeah.
You said who wins the race, and you said it's going to be Piastri as well. And I said it's going to be Max Verstappen, but he was a 10 short on Lando Norris as well.
Yeah.
Well driven by Lando Norris. Maybe do a different podcast about his drive or his drive to come. And the first DNF, I thought you were getting that right because you said it's going to be Doohan, and I said it's going to be Stroll. And we both thought that maybe Hadjar didn't qualify. It actually did not finish, but it did not start, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought when that happened, I thought, is that a DNS? Because he didn't actually make it to the race start. But the official Formula One website classification, like the results page, has him down.
Yes, and I checked. It's called formation lap is counted as a lap.
So. Yeah. So it's a DNF, which is very unfortunate for Hadjar and very unfortunate for my predictions, because if it had been a DNS, then Doohan would have been the first DNF and I would have scored a point.
Yes. So one is done, and we both have
Zero
points.
Yeah, we're great at this, aren't we? To be fair, the first DNF is always a wild card, but
the rest was awful. James, China, been a while.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've always liked China and Malaysia. In my head, they're very similar tracks, and I know that they're not
Malaysia
entirely
faster, probably though. But
yeah, I think there's some similarities a little bit in the first corner, isn't there, and later on in the track. But I do.
Turn like 1 China. Is amazing in China, though. You can go in, you can go out, you can go from the outside in, you go from the inside, stay into the fence. You go out on the left side to open up, and there you can attack again. So we should be seeing more overtaking, especially when
it's
got
just a massive long straight as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. So this one should be easy to predict. Who's going to get pole position?
I'm going to go with Lando Norris.
I'm going to go with Piastri.
Okay.
Who's going to win the race?
I'm going to go with Lando Norris.
I'm going to go with Piastri.
Okay.
Who's going to be the first DNF?
First DNF. I'm going to say Oliver Behrman.
I'm going to do unpopular route. I'm going to say Lawson.
Okay. I did nearly say Lawson myself.
He has no experience in China, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think many of the rookies do. So
no, but I do think he could be one of those cars. Like this weekend, I think Red Bull had more top speed than the McLarens, but McLaren just can do way better on the tires, right?
They can do better on the tires, and I think in the race, I think it looked fairly clear to me, at least, that McLaren had gone with slightly more downforce than Red Bull.
Yes,
but they were doing a lot
more
better.
More downforce than Lawson did.
Yeah.
More downforce than Max, probably.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of the tracks where the Red Bull is able to be up a little bit higher. I doubt they can beat McLaren's because of the way they handle the tire, but especially with that long straight with the DRS, with technical part in there, I think they should be able to attack. And I think Lawson able to do something this weekend, trying to get back in things and trying to make up for it compared to his experience with that. might end
Yeah.
up badly.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with your theory at all. And the Red Bull is certainly in testing looked like a handful to drive, which Max can cope with that, but I'm not so confident that Lawson can.
No.
And that is the problem with being Max Verstappen's teammate for any driver, is that Max is so talented and capable of even making a bad car look half decent that any other driver just ends up looking awful when they put in a comparison side by side to him, because very few drivers can do what Max Verstappen can do.
Yeah, and it's good to see Max chasing and working hard for the wins or for the performances. But it's also sad seeing where the car is after they build a amazing car. We'll see you in a couple of races. I want to
there's
rephrase
still
that.
time.
Last year we had 7 races where it looked like Red Bull dominance. They only won 2 races after the first 7.
Yeah,
so.
and McLaren started last season looking pretty awful, really.
Poor, yeah.
And then they go on to win the Constructors' Championship. So there is so much time in the season left.
The first 5 podcasts might be boring result-wise. But then again, Piastri dropping points already could be
we were saying the same this time last year. We were saying, it's just going to be another repeat of 2023. Red Bull are just going to run away with everything, and then the season turned out to be quite a classic season, really.
100% agree. Do I see you next week after China?
You definitely will. Yeah,
100%. We'll see you next week after China. Also, thank you all for the support. Like, subscribes, find us everywhere. Give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends, your family about it, or if not, just, I don't know, press the play button once more.
Yeah,
we don't mind.
Leave us a comment. We'd love to see what you've got to say.
Definitely. Colapinto for the win. He's not winning, but we still like when we say his name. We probably get some more comments. So thank you all for doing. Also, thank you for responding on the YouTube channel. Shout out to Homer again for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
See you next week, my friend. Bye bye.
See you later. Bye.